Priscilla Barrera with the Investing News Network, and here with me today is Brent Cook of Exploration Insight. Brent, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right, so we're here at the International Mining Investment Conference in Vancouver. How are you finding the conference so far?
It's really slow, which is not unexpected given how the junior mining market has been behaving over the past year. So it's relatively slow, but there's still some good companies here, and it's a good time to start to really do some investigative work.
Great. And yesterday you talked about that we're currently in a flat market. Can investors still make gains in the current environment, and if so, how?
I think so. I mean, the market's bifurcated in the sense that there's no flow of funds, there's no institutional money coming in, there's hardly any retail money coming into the sector. Yet on the other side, the people that know the industry the best, the mining companies, they're putting a lot of money into the junior sector because they recognize further down the road they don't have their reserves to replace what they're mining. So I think it's a good time to be here, but you just got to be extremely selective in what stocks you buy.
So yesterday you gave a presentation about due diligence, and what would you say is the critical factor an investor should pay attention when looking at a company and whether the project is going to be a success or a failure?
I mean, the answer to that could take a half hour or an hour. But basically what Joe and I do in our newsletter is we evaluate every prospect in terms of what's the ultimate economic value going to be, in terms of what's the profit margin, revenue on a project, and we do that from the start. When I go look at a project, grassroots, I'll pick up a rock, and you need to look at it and go, okay, so where am I? What's it going to take to build the infrastructure? How's that ore going to come out of this? What's the social situation? Those sorts of things are what you really need to look at. For someone walking around here that's not an expert in this sector, I think what I would do is ask a company, what is it you're looking for? Exactly. What does it look like? What are the economic parameters behind your conceptual target? So then on top of that, what's the grade and tonnage you need to make a discovery that's going to cover those costs? And if they can't answer that, and you'd be surprised, most of them can't, then you know it's not worth buying.
All right. Okay, yeah, and my next question was going to be, an investor comes to this type of conference, they go to a booth, they're starting to talk to a company, so what would be the top 3 questions to ask, I guess?
Give me the geologic concept, the mine type that you're looking for. Okay, and they give you that. Okay, what is it that you need to find in terms of tons and grade to cover the capex and operating costs, and what are those operating and cash costs? And then I guess third is, how are you going to get, that's going to take money, right? What's it going to take to get to those hurdles? How are you going to raise the money? And how is that going to impact the share price, which is all I care about. Is the share price going up or not? And you'd be surprised how many don't have answers to those questions.
All right. And you talk a lot about looking at the numbers behind a project and looking at resource estimates. What is the most common mistake when looking at these reports that could lead to maybe a misinterpretation of the results?
When it comes to resource estimates, they've got to be geologically constrained. And what I see happening all too often is you've got some person who's really good with a computer, can whiz bang, do all this sort of thing, and throw the numbers in, build your spreadsheet, throw you out a model, 3D and all that, but they don't have the geologic background and experience to put constraints on that. And I'll pick a company like Rubicon. That's what they did. They blew up. That stock went from post rollbacks from about $300 to $138 today. You look at something like what's another one that's experiencing issues right now is Pretium, and that was a very complex geologic mineral model, but so far it's not working so good. So those are 2 that are having issues with the resource estimate they started with.
Right, and what has been the most exciting story in the exploration sector so far this year?
Personally, and this is one that we own in the newsletter, we've owned it for a number of years, is Evrim Resources, EMV. We got in at 10 cents and again at 40 cents. And they've made a discovery in Mexico. Joe and I were down there 2 weeks ago looking at it. and it's taken the stock up to about $1.25 now. And they've got an oxidized deposit, which is really good in terms of costs, for mining costs and processing costs, sitting on a hill, which means your strip ratio is going to be minimal, in a great location in Mexico. So it's got all that going for it, although caveat, we've only got two dimensions. We've got surface information. We don't have the drill results. That's not going to happen until July. But right now, that is the most exciting thing I see out there.
Right. And let's talk a little bit about copper. What's happening in the exploration sector on the copper side of things?
Well, certainly the majors are looking for copper. You know, BHP, Rio Tinto, Freeport. They're out there looking with their own teams, but they're looking for such big deposits that their discovery rate is 1 every 10 to 20 years, and it's just slowing down a lot. And we're not seeing enough exploration by junior companies for porphyry copper deposits, primarily because it takes 3 to 4 times as much to delineate a copper deposit as a gold deposit. So looking further down the road, again, we're looking at a copper deficit showing up in the next 5 to 10 years. And if we find one today, it's going to be 10 to 20 years before that even goes in production. So it's getting pretty interesting.
All right, and finally, Brent, can you share your top stock picks with our audience today?
All right, these are ones our newsletter is about what we're actually buying with our money, and that's how we make our money, subscriptions and our trading. Evrim Resources is certainly one. EVM, talked about that. Mirasol Resources, very smart group of people working in Argentina, Chile. They have joint ventures going, MRZ. And the third one, I would say, look at a bit safer play, which is Premier Gold, PG. They have production coming out of Mexico and Nevada, and some really positive exploration results coming out. So those are the three that I would probably do right now.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today, Brent.
Thank you.
Once again, I'm Priscilla Barrera with the Investing News Network, and here with me today was Brent Cook of Exploration Insights.